So I grew up, with Fernando Mania. You have this indigenous kid from Sonora. No player was more prepared to be LA than Fernando Valenzuela.
Welcome to Chino y Chicano. On October 22nd, 3 days before the start of the 2024 World Series between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Yankees, Dodger great Fernando Valenzuela passed away. Valenzuela came into the major leagues with the Dodgers in 1981. He became known as El Toro, a hefty, left-handed pitcher from a small Mexican town in the state of Sonora in northwestern Mexico. His rookie season was outstanding as he created Fernando Mania and became the pride of LA's Mexican community. Jake Prendez spent his early years growing up in Southern California. His passion for the Dodgers and appreciation for Fernando Valenzuela remained strong. Today, Jake is a Seattle-based Chicano artist. He and his wife, Judy Avitia Gonzalez, own and operate the Napantla Cultural Arts Gallery near White Center. Jake and I talked about Fernando Valenzuela and why he meant so much to so many. Jake Prendez, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. So you grew up kind of going back and forth, right?
LA and Seattle, both have my heart.
But tell me about during the time that you were a young guy and Fernando Mania started in LA. What do you remember about all that?
So I grew up, with Fernando Mania. And, just some background on Fernando himself. I mean, you have this indigenous kid from Sonora who, the scout from the Dodgers went to go check out some other player and ended up just like, hey, who's this pitcher? And started scouting him instead. And I, just read, a little headline or something, with his passing, and said no player was more, no player was more prepared to be LA than Fernando Valenzuela. I'm sure you're familiar with the whole Chavez Ravine. And
Right.
So Mexican-American families were displaced so that they could build Dodger Stadium and really kind of tricked out of their homes. And so there was a lot of resentment to the Dodgers when they first, started playing in LA. And so like Latino, the visitors were like 5%. So Latinos weren't really into the Dodgers yet.
Yeah.
And then here comes this Mexicano guy from Sonora that everyone just fell in love with. And while first game with the Dodgers wasn't his big, shutout, he had done some, minimal relief work the year before. I think he might have played 10 games, something. But his first start, which is also, he started the season opener because the original starter got injured.
Right.
And so they threw him in, and he throws a shutout his first start, and goes on to win Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, and the Dodgers win the World Series.
Right.
So this just blows up, Dodger Mania. And because of Fernando Valenzuela, Latino attendance goes from 5% to 50%. And I swear, if you go to a Dodgers game now, I'd say it's pushing more like 75, 80%, right?
Yeah.
So no one just really embodied us like Fernando did. He was the Messiah we were waiting for. And so yeah, it just, even after he I just never stopped being a Fernando fan. The unfortunately the Dodgers blew out his arm, and
Right.
you know
They
he just
overused him.
never.
They
They
just,
overdid.
yeah, it was kind of like what happened here in Seattle with Felix Hernandez, and the whole
Yeah,
fact that he was on bad teams for one thing, and they just he had a great career, but they just used him and used him and used him.
yeah,
And you bring up a good point about uh, I think in many ways Fernando was uh, he was this bit of a savior for the Dodgers, particularly with the Mexicanos that
yeah,
were Mexican Americans that lived in the LA area that got evicted from Chavez Ravine so they could build, Dodger Stadium. But also the fact that, you know, LA is like it's so Mexican in so many ways. We have, I think, one of the biggest populations outside of Mexico.
yeah.
So,
No, literally, only Mexico City has more Mexicans in the world than
yeah,
LA. It's the
yeah.
only city in the world that has more Mexicans.
Right. And now what is it that how do they pronounce that? Dodgers?
Yeah, Los Doyers. So
Yeah, yeah.
I swear my friend is the one who made that up. He
Yeah.
made like a T-shirt that said Los Doyers, and then got like it was something on like Cafe Press and got like a cease and desist or something. And then all of a sudden, Dodger started using it. So I swear he's the one who originally came up with that.
You still have what a little Fernando.
So this is like from my childhood. Like
Oh
I
my
used to
gosh,
love
really?
these starting lineups, and
Oh, it's a
you know,
figure. Yeah, action
and
figure.
so I had the Fernando. I had to have the Fernando. Um, and then I have his rookie card. I have a bunch of just his baseball cards, which I bought on eBay. But most of my baseball cards got lost. But I brought in today. I brought a baseball card to put on our ofrenda here at Napantla. So he's being represented
Yeah,
and remembered.
it's an interesting time.
Yeah.
And if you look at social media right now, as up right before we connected here, just so many clips from back in that time and that first game that
Mm-hmm.
he pitched in 1981 to when he threw his no-hitter to just everything about him.
Yeah.
But yet I think a lot of people don't know that he played for many more teams other than just the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Because
He
yeah,
played for the Padres. He played, I think, for the Angels.
yeah, the Angels, the Cardinals. He played for the
Yeah.
Cardinals as well. Yeah, I mean, there were a number of other teams, and he actually was a real draw because of his name. And during the time that he was just this young guy that just lit it up for LA. Um, you know what? Let's talk about what he also has meant, I think, for some of the other stars that we're seeing today, like Shohei Ohtani. I mean, in a
Mm-hmm.
way, if you think about it, although there were Latin players before, uh, but the whole idea of bringing players from another country to play
Yeah.
with the Dodgers or and other major league teams, he kind of helped bring that.
Yeah. Shohei Mania.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I'm like excited for it. It's funny. Like as soon as they traded for him, I found a Dodger Shohei Ohtani T-shirt, bought that, and surprised my dad. And so, yeah, like this guy is absolutely amazing. And I get as excited about Shohei as I was about
yeah,
Fernando.
yeah,
I just, yeah, there's just something about being a Dodger fan that, talking about like he played for these other teams. I refuse to have any of those baseball cards.
Well, I could totally understand that because if you think of what he did for the Dodgers, I mean,
Yeah,
just the things that you noted. And I think also um, maybe bridging all of that anger in the years have actually added to help relieve all that, I guess, toward the Dodgers. Because what
mm-hmm.
they did was not a good thing. in evicting people that were mainly of Mexican descent, that were looked
Hmm.
down upon, and really treating them badly to build that stadium.
Hmm.
So you could understand why there was a lot of not great
Yeah.
feelings toward the Dodgers. And besides that, they
No.
came from Brooklyn. So,
Hmm.
it's not like they were homegrown right away. So
Yeah.
that was a whole different deal. But if you look at that and
And even Brooklyn Dodger fans, like I was just reading something recently that I didn't ever really, I guess, put two and two together. But the reason there's a Mets is because Brooklyn Dodger fans and New York Giants fans refused to root for the Yankees when both those teams moved to California.
oh.
So they needed another team. And so in the 60s, late 60s, they expand with the Mets. But that's how hardcore Dodgers fans are. Like I
Yeah.
will not root for the Yankees. I don't care if there's any other teams. You know?
Good thing I didn't bring up my Yankee hat. I actually have a Yankee hat too. So I like hats. I like caps, and I buy them. And I got this. A good buddy of mine from high school. We went to a Dodgers game, and so I decided I needed to have the regalia
Yeah.
to show up there and things.
Well, when I first moved back to LA, I went to a Dodgers game, and this just shows fandom there. But I wore a Chargers jersey. I didn't think I'd get shit for. I mean, it's a different sport, right? People were throwing shit at me,
You're lucky you got out of there alive without getting beat
right?
up,
Like,
man.
yeah, I learned quick.
Yeah, yeah.
Next
That's
time, all Dodger gear.
yeah, yeah. So tell me, how old were you then when you first started? I mean, what was it? How old were you when you first went to a Dodgers game?
Probably 4 or 5.
Really, that young?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And then we moved here in like 82.
Hmm.
Um, so probably a year or two after, and then I was going to Mariner games all the time. Um, and then when I moved back to LA in 2002, I was going to all Dodgers. you know, um, So there's like when the team, the players, there's um, just something I think more deeply rooted. Like I could tell you who the players were last year's roster, and you know, and one of the reasons why is because the Dodgers are on TV in LA,
Yeah.
and I've seen more Dodger games here in Seattle than I have Mariner games. I don't have what is it, Fox
Or
or
whatever, the root sports or whatever
yeah,
it
Root
was.
Sports.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I can't watch Mariner games. So I would love to watch the Mariner games, but I can't. So it's harder to get into the team. It's harder to
Yeah,
if you're not watching the games.
right.
Um, and then I don't. The Dodgers were really accessible. I don't know if things have changed in the past, you know, 7 years since I've been up here, but there were cheap Dodger tickets. Like you
Really?
get Dodger tickets for like 20 bucks. There's those kind of nosebleed sections.
Yeah.
Um, so gosh, right, around 2010 or so, I remember, going to a bunch of games and they would have a section, I think it was 25 bucks. And it was a ticket a hot dog and a drink for 25 bucks. So like they really made it accessible for fans, and families to go see the games.
So they were ahead of the curve on really how to get your fans to get involved and reach the community and all of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, were they one of the first to ever have a Spanish language broadcast?
I would assume so.
Yeah,
And that's another thing,
right.
Fernando Valenzuela was their Spanish
Right. After his
broadcaster,
career ended was it 2003, I guess he came back and joined the team
and he was a Dodgers.
and right. And he stayed with it and things. So one of the things that has been talked about is, and it's interesting now too, okay, Fernando passes, Pete Rose recently passed.
Hmm.
So whether they should be included into the Hall of Fame. Now, Pete
Yeah,
Rose was under that dark cloud of betting on baseball, which he finally confessed that he did. Fernando, Fernando, that wasn't an issue. I mean, it was all about whether, um, I suppose, he lasted long enough or whatever. But I mean, he did, you know, he got he pitched in the World Series. He was a Cy Young guy. He was
yeah,
a Rookie of the Year. Um, and to me, in a way, it's really what he did uh, for the community and for our culture in transforming, that love for baseball and the
yeah,
Dodgers.
yeah.
Definitely,
No,
I think he should go into the Hall of Fame because he was he was a change agent. Didn't
mhm.
know it, but he was.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think Fernando isn't necessarily going to go into the Hall of Fame on his career stats.
Right,
Unfortunately, the Dodgers blew his arm out. I don't think he had the ending that to get into the Hall of Fame.
right.
Fernando Valenzuela is going to get into the Hall of Fame, and I would think in the next few years, next few rounds, based on his impact on the game.
Right.
Like you're saying, this change maker, like he's done single handedly, he's done more to galvanize the Latino community in Los Angeles. Um, just in sports in general. I don't think anyone's done that, what
Yeah.
he's done. And yeah, so I'm going to be campaigning for two people for the Hall of Fame:
Yeah.
Fernando Valenzuela and Los Lobos for the Rock and Roll Hall
Yeah,
of
there
Fame.
you go. I'll help you because I'm a Los Lobos fan. Yeah, got to get them into the Hall of Fame, no doubt about it. Hey, are you? I know that you're a busy guy with your art gallery and there in White Center, and also just being active in the community and getting your work and touching young people to get into art and all of that. Uh, have you painted ever an image of Fernando?
Yeah, the post on Instagram, the Fernando Mania, that
Uh,
was my painting.
oh, really? Great.
Yeah, and I remember I was at an art event or something, vending in LA years and years ago, and maybe a year or so after I had done that painting and I had it on display. And some kid came up to me and he's like, "Who's Fernando Mania?" And I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
"That's Fernando Mania, man."
Yeah. Well, that also just shows how old we have gotten, although you're a lot younger than me. But I mean, frankly, there's some history here for our young people to know about how Dodger Stadium was created, about the
Hmm.
eviction of the Mexican community, the people that lived there, some of the darker side things of
And
LA and
and
how
there's
people are treated. Yeah,
there's some good documentaries
right.
um, that are about. I think it's under gosh, I wish I could remember the names of them. Um, but
I'll
yeah,
look,
like
yeah, I'll look it up and
uh,
see and I'll post some stuff on the website about that so that people could know where that is. Let's kind of wrap things up here, but let's talk a little bit about the gallery and
yeah,
this time of the year. You're there in White Center. What's your address?
it's 9414 Delridge Way, Southwest,
Yeah.
Seattle, Washington 98106.
Yeah, I want people to get out there and go to your gallery because it's small but mighty. And you've got such great work, and the way that you keep our community alive through your art, I think, is wonderful. And I just like the way that you and your lady get out there
Oh,
and,
thank
and
you.
just you're connected to the community and not just with the art, but I mean in that you're giving back, you're reaching out to kids and really encouraging them in so many ways. And I think that that's just what we need.
Thank
It's
you.
important. It's good for our community to do that.
Well, I'm here talking with you and being cool and being on a podcast, Mike. wife's in the back room right now, working her butt off and getting the place cleaned up and ready. And shout out to Judy Avitia Gonzalez. And
Yes, yes. Yeah, Judy deserves the shout out. So you guys are a hell of a team. Very hell
thank
of a
you.
team. Yeah, yeah. Hey man, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I just really felt I needed to do something to shout out to Fernando Valenzuela because I think that, in these times, and I think it's very
Yeah,
important for us to remember the people that have done great things. And he was not the type of person to draw attention to himself. What I
very
loved,
humble.
yes, and what I loved about him too is that he was all about team, as a
Hmm.
player, and so yeah, I always maybe it's an old school thing, but I just really appreciate that he was able to do that. So may he rest in peace, and um, let's make sure that he gets into the Hall of Fame. I think that that's
Yeah,
an important, along with Los Lobos too. All
exactly.
right, Jake Prendez from Napantla Cultural Arts Center Gallery, and thank you so much for taking the time. Take care, man.
Hey, you have a great one. Thank you
All
for
right,
having me on.
all right.